I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and part 2 of the dogfight between the HTC One V and the T-Mobile myTouch starts in just a second. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like these for use in our One Paw Band-Aid giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates. I hate paperwork. I hate those obnoxious debit cards too. And fortunately, at Best Buy Mobile, you won't have to deal with rebates. You'll walk out the door paying the after rebate price. Let's take a look. HTC One V, T-Mobile myTouch. Which one's the best? Let's find out. It's part 2, and it starts right now. Start back into part 2 of a dogfight between two mid-range Android phones because, like I said in part 1, not everybody needs a high-end device. You know, somebody, Galaxy S3, 1X, even 1S, great for you, great for me, maybe not great for grandma, maybe not great for your dad that's just trying to get into tech for the first time, or even somebody that's just migrating up from a smartphone or from a basic feature phone. It's easy to migrate up. The challenge is for a lot of people paying $200 for a device they know they're not going to, at least get the full benefit out of. In that case, you got these devices, the HTC One V and the T-Mobile myTouch. Designed by Huawei, this is an HTC device. US Cellular, Virgin Mobile, coming soon to Metro PCS. At US Cellular, it's $99.99 on contract. Then you have this device, designed by Huawei, third generation of myTouch devices. There's a myTouch Q as well if you want a QWERTY keyboard. Otherwise, identical specs between it and the myTouch Q. Designed by Huawei for $49.99 at T-Mobile retail stores after a $50 mail-in rebate. So $100 after rebate, $50 after rebates. Very similar in a lot of ways. Let's take a look and jump right in here. And if you want to see the customization stuff, check out part 1. But let's jump into quadrant standard because you've got a 1 GHz processor over here, a 1.4 GHz processor over here, both single-core Snapdragon S2 processors. Although I will say, giving you some comparison here, while this is a 1 GHz and while this is a 1.4 GHz CPU, they're a little bit different in terms of family. This is an MSM 8655 processor. This is an MSM 8255 processor, so keep that in mind. A little bit different, but both members of the S2 family of devices. So we're going to run the quadrant standard test on these right now. We'll talk a little bit about call quality. I've been really impressed with a couple of things on the HTC One V. First of all, battery life's been pretty decent. It only has a 1,500 milliamp hour battery, and it's non-removable. So initial thought is, it's probably not going to be the best to make it through a long day or a long day of meetings or conference calls. It's been pretty decent. Where this has been really impressive is standby time. HTC's kind of reworked their formula when it comes to standby times, and it really shows on this one, on the 1S, and on the Evo 4G LTE, and heck, even on the 1X. It's been pretty impressive when it comes to standby time. I make it about 10 hours, 9 to 10 hours, with moderate use before this device flashes dangerously low. Then you have the Huawei myTouch over here, 1,500 milliamp hour battery. Been pretty disappointed with the overall battery life on this device, and forgive me, I'm struggling with I think I'm getting laryngitis or losing my voice, something like that. Some weird sickness this Friday. But what I will say about this device, 1,500 milliamp hour removable battery. Battery life's not that great. I get about 7 hours with moderate use. That said, this thing charges like a beast. I've never seen a device charge this fast. It actually kind of rivals the iPhone in terms of quick charging. So if you're looking for a device, you're a road warrior, you need that quick charge, you rely on that. This might be a better device for you, but if you're okay with, shorter talk time, go with that one. Longer talk time, takes longer to charge, go with the HTC One V over here. Both have 5 megapixel cameras, excuse me, and then you've got your earpiece up here. Both of those have been relatively decent. I took these to dead spots. This is roaming on both Sprint and Verizon depending on the time of the day, and I've taken them to relevant dead spots. Northeast Charlotte for Verizon with this one. There's a spot in South Charlotte for Sprint. Taking it to the dead spots. Been pretty impressed with the call quality despite it being choppy. Over here, T-Mobile dead spot I know of in East Charlotte, and was, again, pretty impressed with both of these devices. The slight edge in call quality goes to the HTC One V. The earpiece is a little bit louder, but again, faster processor over here, and you get the Genius benefits, which we'll talk about in just a second. So, network connection failed. Let's try running this again. Here we go. Quadrant standard scores finally. Apparently, US Cellular decided to shut down the demo line on this account, so that's why the data was not working as properly as I thought it should. So, 1,999 over here. On this device, 1,936. So take quadrant standard with a grain of salt. It's not always indicative of day-to-day performance. That said, they're pretty close. They're pretty neck and neck. Slight edge to the HTC One V, despite having the slower processor, technically 1 gigahertz to 1.4 gigahertz, both of which are Snapdragon S2 CPUs. Let's also take a look at the camera on both of these devices. You've got 5 megapixel cameras, both with 720p HD video recording. We'll go over here to camera. And we'll load up. We'll take a picture of this beautiful breath mint. Actually, I'm going to take it out of its little thing here. So save this one for later because I got to have some nice breath, yo. And we'll take a picture of this so we can get a focus here on the colors. So I'm going to take it on the HTC, and much like the other HTC devices, the camera's pretty decent. It may be 5 megapixels as opposed to 8, but it's a relatively impressive camera over here, and you do get the image sense capability. So you see the burst mode that just happened when I pressed and held down the button. And then over here, a surprisingly decent camera as well. What I do like over here is the fact that you have the physical camera button. The focus is nice on this device, even though, and I'll show you, no half press on the button, it's full press or nothing, but you do get some nice color and some nice looks, a nice look and feel there. Settings, auto incandescent daylight, you can change around the white balance, you can change around the quality of the picture, you can turn the flash on and off obviously, and access your video camera directly from there. But just take a look again. Autofocus does a pretty decent job, especially when it's brought out of the picture a little bit. You can really see the ridges around this mint, for example. And all in all, pretty impressive picture there for $49.99 device. Camera, the slight edge goes to the One V just because of the features of the individual device itself. So bring it over here so you can take a look, and take a look at the focus here, and you can see again the ridges over there. But you do get the option for burst mode, so I can take as many pictures of this mint as I want to. So let's say this mint is playing a soccer game and it's like running around. I can get a bunch of pictures, much like I would with my child or with whoever, and I can scroll back and forth and see which one I like the most, and I can select that as the best shot and delete the rest of the image, or the images rather, if I so desire. Also, you've got the shortcut of the video, and you can take stills while you're recording video. Then you have your settings over here. You can change the resolution and more. So slight edge goes to the camera on the One V, and again, build quality very impressive over here. You know, you're paying $99.99, so you're paying more, but you get a nice build quality over here with metal look and feel. Over here, it's a little bit more plasticky, but you do get the removable battery that I talked about in part 1. So both are relatively similar in terms of thickness, and you can see the status light up here at the top of the HTC device right there. Lights up the entire top. Kind of resembles an iPhone 4 prior to the change in terms of antenna look and feel. Kind of gives a resemblance to that. So don't tell Apple, they might sue HTC. But anyway, that's a joke. That's a joke, guys. I'm not dissing Apple or HTC. Just kidding. But you can see here, again, very similar in a lot of ways. The Genius button is definitely an advantage over the myTouch, or over the One V rather, with the myTouch device. You do get this, and we'll skip this. We'll say,
please wait.
Let's wait for it to activate all the contacts from my library, and we'll say something like, you know what? We'll say something like, call 611.
611 calling.
And so this is great because I'm a huge advocate against text messaging or otherwise using your phone while your eyes are supposed to be on the road. The Genius button is a great option for that because you can press and hold and say something like that, call 6112. And it seems to be a relatively decent option. Watch it not work this time, but you get what I'm saying. It's relatively decent for sending text messages while on the go, or perhaps you don't want to look down. It's a great option, and it gives you some nice search choices as well. Browser, phonedog.com on both of these devices. This is an HSPA Plus device. This is only a 3G device on CDMA carriers in the States, but we'll take a look at phonedog.com and load it up. I'll load up PhoneDog over here as well so you can see what the browser looks like on both of these. PhoneDog. Okay, come on, PhoneDog. Come on. Sometimes I think faster than these devices. PhoneDog.com. Instead of just clicking there in the search, wait for it to load up. And you can see kind of a color difference as well based on the displays here. And again, pinch to zoom, relatively responsive over here, just a 1 gigahertz processor, but portrait to landscape transitions reasonably fast with a nice screen effect. Again, keep in mind you get Android 4.0 out of the gate on this device. Over here, Android 2.3.6, but you do get a nice little custom user interface tweak there that Huawei's designed, where it's like it goes to the end of the page and it's like, whoa, page went too far, and it kind of automatically switches it back. That's a cute little thing that I noticed when I was doing the initial review. But you got your menu button down here, home, back, and Genius capacitive buttons with your shortcut to Windows, where you can see PhoneDog is loaded up right there. Up here, you've got your tabs. You can press there, and I'll see a preview of where I left off. I can open up a new tab. And when I'm ready to go back to those tabs, I can either hit menu or wait for it to pop up there in the bottom and switch back and forth between those. So again here, 3.7-inch display, 4-inch display over here, a little bit bigger. So if you're doing something like, you know, browsing the web a lot, or you're listening to a lot of music videos, it may be a little bit of a difference to go with a larger display. That said, the build quality here is second to none between these two devices, and I've been really impressed with that. So it's a tough call between both of these, and you're going to have a choice. You know, obviously it's going to be carrier dependent for a lot of people, but if you're coming into the market and you're like, you know what, don't want to go T-Mobile prepaid, don't want to go, let's say, Virgin Mobile, and you're stuck between these two devices, it may be a little bit harder of a battle. That said, the winner of the dogfight is the HTC One V, and it's a winner for a couple of reasons. Not just because it scored higher in Quadrant Standard, but for a couple of reasons. One, build quality is fantastic over here. It's nice to get a device under $100 and have a nice solid metal look and feel to it. It's a beautifully designed device. It comes out of the gate with Android 4.0, which I can't say enough about considering it's 2012 and devices are still like this, are still releasing with Android 2.3.6. There are a lot of things I like about this device, but that's pretty unacceptable to me that in 2012 we're still releasing gingerbread when not only ice cream sandwiches come out, but jelly beans even been released. This is pretty unacceptable at this point. Nothing should be releasing with gingerbread at this time. So you get ice cream sandwich out of the gate, and you get Sense 4. Now granted, it's a watered down version of Sense 4, but you still get HTC's kind of flagship user interface experience on a device that's $100. I feel like they took this device, they're like, hey, you know what? It doesn't have the specs or the processing power as the 1S or the 1X. Excuse me. That said, it's a pretty impressive device. We want to give it everything that we gave the 1S and the 1X, at least as much as possible, as much as we can. And that's the design language that I feel like HTC's done here, and that's what the image or the idea that I get when I take a look at this device. Camera's better over here, as well as standby time. So both are great devices, though. If you're on T-Mobile, I'm pretty impressed with the Genius button. Always enjoy that in the myTouch series. I think you'll be fine with either one of these devices. But just in terms of a dogfight winner, it goes to the HTC One V. And then there's an HSPA Plus speed test that I wanted to run in the background. Excuse me, while we were talking about it. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with both of these devices. Keep it locked on the site. Forgive my laryngitis or whatever's happening to my voice today. Videos don't stop. We love doing videos, and so regardless of whether I have a voice or not, I always want to give you the latest and greatest when it comes to mobile videos. Keep it locked on the site for PhoneDog.com or at PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Let me know what you think of these devices. If you like the One V more, you like the myTouch more, let me know. PhoneDog_Aaron on Twitter, Facebook.com/PhoneDog, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB if you want to access my personal page. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. More to come on these two little mid-range devices on PhoneDog.com. We'll see you next time.